Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hypecast mit Cobra und David Bell.
All right. I forgot how we introduced the last one. I think we just started. We rambled for about 3 minutes on how we really didn't have a format yet, and then we just sort of started.
And I said on the last episode that we should do that every episode. Is we start by
start by rambling
about how we don't have a format.
Hey, everybody!
We're keeping.
We don't have a format this week, so we're just gonna start talking.
Yeah.
Like friends do. Yeah. Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Hey, we're this is this week's episode of Hypecast, where we talk about all the cool pop culture news of the past week and get excited about it, or feign excitement, whatever the case may be. I'm your co-host, Tom Ryman.
I'm the other co-host, David Bell.
And our guest today is Maggie May Fish.
Hi.
Hey, Maggie.
Thanks for coming.
Hi. So, guys, what's the format for the very beginning of the show? What's your strict, by the rule book? What can I say? What can I not say? What are all your rules?
Basically, our very hardline rule is that we are going to do about 30 to 45 minutes of just free-form rambling.
Great. That's fantastic.
With a very vague list of bullet points.
Great. Hey, look at that. And we've made it. No kidding.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which,
that's a show.
Turn on radio DJ.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, we started last time just by talking about, like, what cool trailers there were. Oh, yeah, good idea. Dave started a timer.
Timer.
Oh, great. Yeah.
The first episode.
There's a timer in
maybe
Audacity itself.
Oh, right.
We recorded for like 90 minutes. I cut like 20 minutes out of it.
Yeah, because we didn't have a timer. I think it was part of it, or maybe we did have a timer. We just
there was like a timer in. Man, I need to get like a book or a box or something because I'm sitting here like
he's Tom's much taller than all of us, and he's just like crouching.
I'm hunched over this microphone
to get closer,
like I'm about to rob it. No, last time we just started by talking about cool trailers, and then we got into more kind of general like news stories from pop culture of the week, and then we just we end with Dave's segment where he talks about a movie that he feels deserves more hype. So that's the real basic format that we have.
I only brought it up because they were joking earlier that how do we start a podcast? How does anyone start a podcast?
No, you just start talking.
It's starting and ending.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare, and it's always funny to hear every podcast do the episode where they talk about how beginning and ending is a nightmare.
Right.
They always have one. So there you go. This is it.
Well, shit. Should we start with trailers?
Sure.
Should we nail this down? This format? We start with trailers.
Ooh,
yeah, we're nailing it.
Look at this.
I got to turn in a way so that I can be hunched over this microphone like a predator and still maintain eye contact.
You do kind of look like
my guests.
An alien from the alien.
You look like you're a tall person being like condescending to short people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, gang.
Hey, little guy.
Hey, little guy.
You need some help getting something off a shelf? Look what I can do.
Whoa.
It's like magic.
Chorus of children.
No, it's funny that Jeff's voice didn't come in quieter because he's taller than I am, actually, by a slight margin.
He's a very loud man.
But he is a very loud man.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious.
He projects. He has that like
that Boston.
That mighty.
That Massachusetts.
That Boston projection.
Boston projection.
So anyways, new trailers this week. The international trailer, specifically the Japanese trailer for the Rampage movie, starring Dwayne Johnson, came out, I think, this morning.
Wow.
I already had Rampage on the list because there was a supposedly new trailer last week, but from as best I could tell, it was just the same trailer that they had during the Super Bowl or whatever.
Right, and this reminds me of the Infinity War did the same thing. They had a Super Bowl trailer, and it was just
was just the same footage,
right.
like which I was fine with.
Have Have they figured out
This
that
is
we
gonna
don't
be good.
notice or we don't care?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But anyway, this Rampage is a film, if you're not aware, that's based on this arcade series from Midway, where you control one of 3 giant monsters and you just endlessly destroy cities. That's all you do. And it's very silly and it's tongue in cheek.
It's kind of wonderful. It was
It's a
the
pretty
first.
sweet
It was the first
game.
arcade game I think I fell in love with as a kid.
Yeah, and then they did like cool reboots of it in the mid '90s with better graphics. It looked like this pseudo claymation graphics. It was pretty rad.
Right. So it seems prime for some sort of like dramatic film that teaches us about how to connect with people who are different than us, right?
Right,
Tom?
and like tormenting the plight of animals in captivity.
Why?
What?
All right.
This movie is
What the
insane.
fuck is this movie?
Why didn't they make them people who turned into monsters?
I don't know.
Because we haven't really seen that.
Yeah.
On film. We've seen like the Mighty Joe Young thing where it's like,
Yeah.
That's exactly what this trailer reminded me
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because it starts with like The Rock finding George the gorilla in a jungle, and then it's like he's in I don't know why he's in a zoo or something where he belongs to some scientists, but then he's like, not this specific trailer, but like the original trailer, they do a lot of work to show you that Dwayne The Rock Johnson and this gorilla have like a bond,
Yeah.
like the dude from Nip Tuck and the fake gorilla in Congo. That was a reference just for me.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was
That's,
just for you. Yeah.
But yeah, like, Dave was saying, like when in the game, it's like when your monster lost all of its health, it transformed back into a tiny little human, and you had to like comically walk naked off screen, like covering yourself.
right.
And why didn't they get? 'Cause when I first heard The Rock as in Rampage, I was like, oh, they're gonna turn him into a giant monster, and he'll be like doing the people's elbow on other monsters.
Yes.
And they should really have gone back to his wrestling roots for this and gotten like other wrestlers.
When I first heard they were making this into a movie with The Rock, I was like, oh, that's a really good idea, because my mind was like, make that a comedy.
Yeah. Oh, what
Right.
a great
Like,
comedy that would be. Oh,
make-
fantastic.
Make like a silly monster movie.
Right. Well, even missing the part of like people turning it. Yeah. Like again, like that's novel. And also like if they wanted to say something deep, you could have had some like layer of like, oh, we're all monsters in some sort of way.
Right.
Ah,
Sure, yeah.
hold hands.
On the inside, we're all giant wolves.
Yeah. Just waiting for our triggers. But no. Yeah.
No, it's this
entirely silly.
They make. Man, the Japanese trailer is pretty great because it starts with The Rock speaking. He's directly addressing audiences in Japan, which it's a marketing strategy, and that's fine. He speaks a couple phrases in Japanese.
Yeah, but he looks like he seems like he's talking like he has never spoken to like a Japanese person or someone of like just a person. He seems like he's talking to like an alien race. Like, hey,
That's kinda true.
Yeah.
there's a movie. It's like what? Who? What?
It seems a little.
What?
It seems a little that way, yeah. Like a mall Santa addressing a bunch of kids.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
funny because The Rock was a pro wrestler for many years, and his dad was a famous pro wrestler. So I know like pro wrestling's huge in Japan. So I know he must have been to Japan before to
Right.
wrestle at least.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's not like it's a place. I assume it's not a place he has zero familiarity with. But then this is. I enjoyed this trailer the most, maybe because it's only a minute long, and it just focuses on all the action, which again, it's not really the movie I wanted, but it's narrated by the hypest Japanese announcer,
So good. I think if we
the
look
most excited person ever for the Rampage movie is the guy they got to announce this trailer.
I think I've heard him before in other like international trailers.
He's probably their
too.
Don LaFontaine.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably the guy that narrates all of the trailers.
And it's a
There's usually only a handful of people.
it's a very different trailer style than what we're used to in the tone of his voice, because he's like a wrestling announcer. He's so psyched.
Yeah.
For the
He's
movie.
just shouting
Yeah.
about how fucking stoked you all should be to see Rampage.
Yeah.
Yeah, although like it did make me more excited to see the
Yeah.
Japanese trailer. I was like, oh, I'm excited. Wait a
good
minute,
trailer.
I never mind.
Yeah.
I have to remember of what it actually is. But hey,
Yeah, and then it has that somber remix of Bullet with
the
Butterfly
Smashing-
Wings, the
Yeah,
Smashing Pumpkins song.
God. Oof.
That's one of the saddest. This is a small digression, but also kind of related because Smashing Pumpkins announced that they're getting back together for a reunion tour, minus the bass player.
Oh, okay.
Who's the only woman in the group. I don't know. That's maybe neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But they're having a big public fight about it right now.
Ooh, that's fun. I love public fights.
Oh, yeah, it's the best.
It's the best.
That's kind
Well,
of
Billy Corgan's one of those guys. Billy Corgan's the lead guy for Smashing Pumpkins. One of the saddest developments for me as far as music-wise in the past 10 years is I really liked Smashing Pumpkins in the 90s. Like, it's a solid alternative band. They have good albums. Billy Corgan himself is a fucking lunatic.
right.
Like, he's been on
Yeah.
Alex Jones and like
also been on the cover of, I believe, Cat Fancy.
Cat Fancy, holding his cats.
Which
that's fine.
I think more celebrities should do that.
Right. Less celebrities should be on
I don't wanna
Alex
have to-
Jones espousing weird conspiracy theories, which is what he does.
Right.
But there's also like several songs by other alternative bands from the 90s that are about what an asshole Billy Corgan is.
That's great.
Like,
You
so
could put those all in a time capsule and be like,
Yeah.
well, if you want to know what the 90s were like, I don't know. Here's
it was it was grunge and a bunch of people calling Billy Corgan an asshole.
Yeah, there you go. Them, and Spice Girls.
Yes.
Them,
And Spice Girls.
and Spice Girls.
So yeah, Rampage.
So yeah.
I definitely want to talk about the Incredibles 2 trailer as
Yeah.
well. Because from what I can tell, it's the plot of the Incredibles.
Just
Ooh.
Just reversed.
Roles reversed, yeah.
And that maybe it's just because trailer companies must be the most depressing place to work, because I no longer trust trailers. But from what I can tell, it's that what's her name, Elastigirl, is
yeah.
that it? Is now being they start by saying that superheroes are illegal again. So we're back to where we started in that trailer. Mm-hmm. And then Elastigirl gets courted by like a rich, clearly villainous person. Mm-hmm. And then she's off doing her adventures.
Right.
And I feel like the weird gag is that the what's his name there? Coach there?
Mr. Incredible. Bob Parr.
Yeah.
Mr. Incredible.
Mr.
It's
Incredible.
It's Mr. Mom.
Wait.
It's like, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like the comedy
Yeah.
is him having to be home taking
Yeah,
care of the children.
which is
He doesn't have any idea how to do it.
and that's fine in like the 80s, but like
Yeah, I was like, wait, well, that's
it's
part
like-
of the
Mr.
what?
Mom is from 1981. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah,
It's like
now
really-
it's just like disappointing if a man like doesn't know how to step up in the household. Like, oh, gross.
like
That's
if
gross.
if this
Be a
is
human. Grow up.
Come on, Mr. Incredible.
Yeah, that seems to not be so, huh?
It's really
Weird.
weird that if the message of the Incredibles 2 is like, you see, women can go out and work too. Like, we'll just all of the world will respond with like, yeah.
Yeah. Or like people that you date might not be great. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I know. That is weird. It's weird because I before that I had read, I mean, it wasn't even an article. I think I was just like flipping online or whatever, and it seemed to suggest like, oh, like how great it is that like Elastigirl's like gonna lead the new Incredibles. But now that I learned more about the plot, I was like, is it great? That doesn't seem like a great film.
Right.
Yeah, and she kind of did in the last one, like in the first one.
Right.
The first one's more about Mr. Incredible kind of being an ass,
Right.
sort of, and
Yeah.
then like the scene where
And
the
she
plane
goes,
gets shot down.
she
and
goes
then-
out and
Yeah.
her family has to rescue him. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his family has to rescue him.
Weird.
I don't know. I mean, I really, The Incredibles is probably my favorite Pixar movie.
Whoa!
I really like the first one. I really like Brad Bird.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm
You're
saying it.
You're putting it
I'm
out
saying
there.
Um,
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know which other one would. Anyway.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Wall-E is my favorite Pixar movie.
Oh, okay. Well,
Fucking Wall-E.
yeah.
Wall-E's so good.
But the weird that's also kind of the plot of Despicable Me Too.
Oh, really?
Like he dates someone who is clearly villainous, or like, and his like daughter started to date someone that's like clearly villainous, and it's about him being Mr. Mom but being good at it, which is like that's the funny part.
Right.
So it's like,
And
wow, weird.
again, it feels like, and this is why I go back to trailer companies, because this could be like the first 15 minutes of the
It could,
Right.
it
For
could
all
be
we know.
it
Yeah.
could be a single montage.
yeah, and so maybe just the trailer company being like, no, let's push this. This is what they like. And that's what I'm hoping, because Pixar tends to not disappoint.
No, the only Pixar movie I haven't liked is the Cars movies.
Yeah, which I think is, and I've heard the last one is pretty good. And I like the first one. I didn't
I don't hate it.
dislike it.
Yeah, I just...
I don't like Cars.
Yeah, I mean,
Cars
it's
don't do anything
not.
for me.
It's not. I think it's. I mean, that's the movie that they've made the most money off of. Like they've made something like over $1 billion in merchandising for Cars, because little kids fucking go apeshit for cars that talk and have eyes or whatever. I don't know. Kids are stupid.
I'm curious. That's the thing. That's my nephew of all the Pixar films. Cars was the one that he was attracted to first because of that reason, and which it makes me wonder. Is a generation going to grow up and like their parents are going to be like, Pixar was great, and this generation is going to be like, I don't really remember those movies. Because like when I saw Inside Out, it was just like a bunch of people my age crying, and then like their kids looking confused.
I didn't dig on Inside Out as much as everybody else.
Yeah,
I still enjoyed it, but I didn't have as profound an experience with it as I thought it was. I thought it was really, really oversimplified for the message it was trying to give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I felt like it was trying to teach kids the emotions.
Yeah,
are complex
sure.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, I think most
it's
kids
okay to
came
be
out of
sad,
that
and
and they were
really
like,
important,
I liked the weird elephant man. Like again, like you said, kids are dumb. So you're going to grow up with films like that.
They give you that weird elephant man and then fucking tear your heart in half.
Right.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, what kid would fucking watch that movie and come out of it like, I enjoyed that? Like, I wouldn't have a nostalgia. Like Land Before Time.
That's gonna be like that's gonna be like their Old Yeller or their Land Before Time.
Yeah, Land Before Time I have like a combatic
watching
nostalgic relationship with, where I'm just like, I don't remember it as like a fond memory watching that for the first
loved
time.
Land Before. Although I was a kid that had a lot of feelings. Like I would just cry all the time. And so I guess, I don't know, I loved sad movies growing up. And like Land Before Time, I was like, something gets me.
I fucking loved that movie. Yeah,
but it's depressing.
Oh, it is. We watched it again like maybe a year ago, and
Oh,
it's
God.
still the saddest fucking movie. It's like, this
Mom-
is brutal to unleash on a
The
child.
part where he sees his fucking shadow and thinks it's his mom.
Oh, God.
And then he just like sits at a puddle and looks at his reflection and waits to starve to death. And,
Yep, he sure does.
yeah.
And then dinosaur Pat Hingle comes along.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, I mean, not to go on a tangent of like sad kid movies, but I do think that oftentimes movies for kids try to make something like fun because they don't actually remember how scary and awful it is to be a kid, because like nothing's in your control. You can't do anything. There is like, it's so isolating, alone, and like you feel alone a lot when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And I think adults like forget that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget. When I was a kid, every adult scared me.
Yeah, dude,
They're
you're just afraid.
Yeah.
You don't know. You know your mom and your dad, and anyone
that's
else is
pretty
just
much
a
it.
fucking mystery to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And you don't understand their world and like,
Yeah, and you just an overwhelming sense of like you don't belong.
Yeah.
you
all
don't belong
forever,
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate when movies. I mean, what annoys me more about movies made for kids is when they're just bad and stupid. It's like, well, and then the excuse they get, it's like, well, it's a kids movie. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have to be bad.
Right.
Like, it doesn't need to be stupid.
Kids aren't like dumb. They're sometimes more emotionally intelligent than we are.
They're
because,
very emotionally intelligent because
don't-
that's all they have.
That's all they have. They have nothing else.
Yeah.
So that's what they get.
Yeah, they get that shit.
Yeah.
That's why they get profoundly sad at things that me in my 30s have forgotten how to feel.
Right. Yeah.
Like-
Exactly.
like,
Which, to bring it back to Incredibles 2, this might be dumb and stupid. it
might be, I
have
don't
zero
know.
emotions. I don't know.
I don't know.
Again,
It's-
trailers, who knows?
yeah. Trailers are fucking nightmare. I do
mean-
like the look of the Incredibles. I liked that they went with like the 60s New Deco or whatever
Oh, yeah, it's great.
kind of
Yeah.
theme.
Well,
Cobra Kai.
yeah, speaking of emotions, the Karate Kid sequel that no one wanted.
It's a YouTube Red exclusive series.
Yeah, this can't be good, right?
It's
I looked at the trailer and all the comments are people like, yeah, fuck yeah.
Well, they don't show you much.
And like, I like Karate Kid, but I can't be excited for like, and now they're old.
Well, that's the most positive.
Now they're old.
It's the same. It's like 35 years later. Like that was the most positive response I had to the trailer was when Johnny and Daniel face off in the very end of it. And I'm like, that my most positive response is like, oh, they look pretty good.
They do look good, yeah. I do.
Well, they
right.
aged well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I do like it's Cobra Kai, and I like.
I like the idea of focusing on what Johnny Lawrence has been doing for the
Yes, I really like that because I like the idea of it being like someone who was a villain,
right?
Because of the adults around them. Because like he was kind of driven to be that.
He just had a negative, like he had an evil Mr. Miyagi
Exactly.
teaching him.
Yeah.
Like so, it's like
You kind of shit out of luck if that's
Like-
your teacher.
Johnny Lawrence's version of that movie is a fucking tragedy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I
So,
really
like-
like seeing. I would love to see it from his perspective, like a redemption story or something.
Yeah. It is weird though that like as soon as I thought of this idea, I realized how dumb it is, but it's like the like a fight that they had when they were young kids like weighs that much on their life that 35 years later he needs to do something about it. It's like
true.
whoa.
That is a bummer, isn't it? Like
That-
he should just be an accountant. Or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
you know?
like that's is
But in a
just
way-
a huge bummer.
Well, I think in a way that's kind of brilliant, right? Because it's like he's been cursed to do this. It's like the
Right.
guy who had a shitty football coach and he just never escaped that. So he's been obsessed with his high school sports years for his entire life, and he's
Right.
just become
So
that
sad.
shitty angry old coach.
Oh man.
Like Daniel's son looks like he's a fucking accountant now, or so like he's moved on,
Yeah,
and has
he-
lived a good life.
Yeah.
Like,
The happiest ending for this then is like both characters just being like, nah, you know what, karate sucks, and like
Yeah.
just quitting.
right?
Yeah,
Karate sucks.
Shit.
You know what?
Karate's
Karate
bullshit.
sucks.
It's bullshit.
I don't know why we thought it was so important.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know why.
We really based a lot of our life decisions on our karate classes.
fucking and the Karate Kid 2 or well, there's 3 and then there's 4 is the new
with
Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 and 3 he gives up his like college savings to go help Mr. Miyagi in Japan.
In Japan, yeah.
Wow.
Like that's a big decision to make that early in your life.
Yeah, like, and also probably a bad decision, and probably had like bad ramifications
Yeah.
in the rest of his life, presumably.
Yeah,
It was, man, his parents really failed him.
they did.
That-
They really needed to
That
be
shit.
like, dude, all right, you need to stop hanging out with this weird
with
old
this
man.
old man
Yeah,
who's gonna make you help him resolve like a 40-year-old conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's fucked up. It's a
Um,
fucked up series.
yeah, it super is.
I,
I don't even remember it that well. The Karate Kid is
Oh.
not. I saw the movies as a kid, obviously, and you know liked them because I was a little kid in the '80s. But they're not movies that I've gone back and watched.
I did an
Yeah.
obsessive pop culture disorder script for Dan about weird relationships, and that was one where Mr. Miyagi and Daniel and so I went back and watched the first 3 like several times
Oh boy.
because there was a lot. Because the other weird thing about those movies, they take place in only a few years, all 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any nostalgia for Karate Kid because I didn't see it and I didn't grow up with it. And honest to God, I had no idea that there were 3. I
Yeah.
just am
Oh,
finding that out
there sure
right
are.
now.
They're
There's
not
3 of
bad.
them.
They're not bad
Yeah.
films.
Wow.
But they're very strange. It's a very strange situation
Yeah.
that kid has got himself into. They do work around it where, like, man, I can't think of any of the names. The old guy,
Mr. Miyagi.
Mr. Miyagi. Thank you. He never pressures him to like help him.
No,
Or
he
to,
doesn't. But like,
he's always like, no, you should go to college and stuff like that. But like he should, because then he like buys plane tickets. He's like, no, I'm coming with you. He really needs to like talk to his parents at that point.
right? Yeah.
Be like, look, we need
Really.
to figure this out.
Look,
He really
your
needs
your
to go.
son just spent
So much money.
Oh.
several
I'll call the
semesters of a
airline.
tuition
Yeah.
on plane tickets to come help me I
beat
forget
up
who
a
it even
guy.
like his uncle or some I forget. No, it's just his like rival, right? I can't even remember who the bad guy is.
Yeah, it's kind of a blur now. I know it ends in a fighting ring, in like a kid with like a scorpion vest, like kicks Daniel's girlfriend in the face and knocks her out. He also goes through 3 girlfriends, I believe, because he can't. Presumably
See,
because
yeah.
they can't compete with Mr. Miyagi.
Right.
There's
For his
only
attention.
room in his heart for one
Yeah.
true love, and it's Mr. Miyagi. Yeah.
Look at the timer. I have a feeling it's going to be devastating. Okay.
No, it's not.
We're only
no,
20 minutes. Okay.
New Ready Player
we're
One
still good.
trailer.
Yeah.
New Ready Player One trailer. Don't care about this movie at all.
I'm starting to care a little bit.
I've read excerpts from the novel, which I've not read in full, and it seems like the most insufferable piece of writing ever written.
Ooh.
And I saw I think the best opinion I've seen yet was from Cody, who I think we're going to try to get on this next week.
Oh, cool.
But Cody said, so Ready Player One is just Twilight for boys, right?
Oh my God, I think you've nailed it.
Yeah.
I think
Cody.
that's it.
Cody said it, yeah.
It's like, you know what it is. You know what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
You know, have a little bit of shame, but it's also like whatever.
Right, and it's adapted from a poorly written source material.
Right, and I've seen the excerpts where it's just literally like just people naming pop culture things from the 80s and 90s. Like there's no finesse in the nostalgia. It's just, hey, remember this stuff?
Well, that's how I feel about second season of Stranger Things, and also that new Netflix show that's about the 90s.
Oh, everything sucks?
Yeah, everything sucks.
Because they're not getting it right.
Yeah.
like they're missing their years and everything sucks. It's like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be 1996 and people are still hanging out with snap bracelets.
Right. It's just
No.
like, and also, so I just find it also like annoying. I feel like it's kind of just like a crutch. Obviously, it's a crutch. It's like it's capitalizing on like, oh, everything old is like cool now.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Which, like, you know, if it comes along with like a cool and unique story that like
sure.
that is fun or does something for my like emotion or storytelling, itch, then like great, awesome. But if it doesn't, then like I just feel like it was cheap. Like it was cheated.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for a while. I mean,
Oh yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
there's
70s show.
that 70s show, A Christmas Story. There's if you have like a story you wanted to like, I could see going out and writing something that takes place in the 90s just because that's when I was a kid, and if I want to write a movie about my experiences as a kid, I could set it in that time, and then it would have my perspective or whatever it was I wanted to write. I could see doing that if you have like a story to tell or like
or a perspective. I like that, like, because I think a lot of these there's no perspective with it. It's like, oh, I liked that thing. Oh, I
Right.
liked that thing. Instead of like, that thing made me feel blank.
Yeah.
That thing made me
Right.
feel blank. That's when I felt safe.
it should always
That's
have.
what makes me feel, happy. And
Yeah.
this is that part of it.
like
which is
writing
important.
when anytime somebody writes a coming of age story, for example, it usually takes place at whenever they were a kid or whenever they came of
Right.
age, and so that becomes the reason why the time period's relevant.
Yeah.
It should always have some sort of motivation for
Sure.
storytelling. It should be like,
Or at least
I don't
be-
mind
at least
like
be
Guardians
like-
of the Galaxy, where they were like, okay, where he's young, abducted by aliens, and he has this tape
Yeah,
cassette
that's
that
all
his
he has
mom
left.
gave him.
Yeah.
It's all he has. And the plus side is we get to play a bunch of fun music.
Right,
And,
like if it's
I know
like if
why
it's
they're
like
doing it,
dressing,
but it's
I don't mind if it's just like window dressing as long as like the story within that is
Yeah.
like cool and engaging and fun, which
And it
is why I
creates-
forgive it in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But-
I got very cynical with that second season.
Sure.
It's more has to do with me than it, and I know that, so
but
no diss on that show.
Ready Player One. I feel like their advertising campaign should just be get high before watching this. Just get high and watch this. Because that's this new trailer. That was the thought in my head is like, man, if I'm just like sleepy or like on drugs or something, I bet this would be a fun time. But I don't know, because I also really trust Spielberg as a
Of course, yeah.
as a filmmaker.
It seems like he shouldn't make this movie, though.
Because maybe he does to this. Yeah, I didn't like the.
It's weird that he should be the one that makes this movie because he is such a central figure in all of the stuff that is in this movie.
Yeah, it's like he's too close to it to make a comment on it.
And
like
he said
the
it himself.
fucking DeLorean is on the newest
Right.
poster. It's like, you produced that movie.
He said it himself that he excluded from the book some of his own
The
movies.
direct references to him.
Yeah,
except
because it made him uncomfortable, and like my thought of that was like, then don't make the movie.
Don't make the movie.
Yeah.
Because that's, you
can't reference like
keep
any of these things.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
It
I don't
should be
know.
uncomfortable for you. Like,
Yeah.
it should be, and it
At
probably
least,
was.
since he's like the producer and stuff, when they get the DeLorean, I wonder if he just like went back into the archives and like found the designs and like was like he has at least access to this nostalgia.
Yeah, he does. That's true.
Like he could make it very accurate to it.
Yeah.
Well, they did. This is the thing that bums me out. There's a artist everybody should follow on Twitter. His name's Brandon Bird. He's a wonderful pop culture artist. One of the things he's done is Nobody Wants to Play Sega with Harrison Ford. It's just this painting of a sad Harrison Ford holding a Sega Master System while all these kids are playing other stuff. Anyway, he does really great pop culture artwork. And on Twitter a day or two ago, I think it's just at Brandon Bird. Anyway, he broke down the new Ready Player One trailer, which is done in the Drew Struzan style, but it wasn't done by Drew Struzan, and it's just a Photoshop.
And that sums it up kind of.
And that
perfectly.
sums it up, because it's like, well, this is Spielberg doing a movie that's about 80s pop culture. Surely he has Drew Struzan's number. Like, Drew Struzan was the artist who made all those posters. If, for you guys that don't know, like that Future poster, the Indiana Jones posters, like the Goonies
Star
stuff,
Wars.
Star Wars, all the really iconic posters from the time period that Ready Player One is nostalgic for. Most of them were painted by Drew Struzan. And the new poster is clearly meant to be in that style, but it's just like Brandon Bird takes it and like breaks it down. It's like all this is they've put a filter that puts just random pencil lines on everything, and you can look at it and it's really funny because it's like it's not even pencil lines like where they would make sense. It's just like slashes across people's faces and stuff. It's like there would never be a place where an artist would put a pencil line.
It's a bummer because I know why it happened. Because I don't think they could afford to do.
I think they could. They don't. Posters have.
They don't want to.
Yeah, they don't want
Yeah.
to.
They can afford it, but they
would.
Cut
They don't
costs
want to.
down.
Yeah. Why?
They would rather pay some intern or some contractor $70 to do a Photoshop, than pay an artist
Which
like
is
Drew Struzan
sad
to paint
because
something.
there hasn't been a modern poster that I would want to hang on my wall because of this.
Yeah. Well, maybe they knew that if you feel that way, you probably won't like Ready Player One.
I guess, but when you like a movie, you want to hang the poster on your wall, and like, there's no like any movie has been made since like the early 2000s. Like, there's no posters anymore. Like, there's like so many good old posters, and I don't know. I don't know if I'm just being like old and nostalgic, but I feel like modern posters they suck so much.
Yeah, there's some good ones here and there, but again, nothing that
you'd want to
Yeah,
buy
but
or
also, I
frame.
mean, how many people have like modern day movie posters in their house? It's always like, oh, you must see movies a lot. Like, if that's the case.
Yeah. Nice
I got-
Ocean's 13 poster.
Yeah. Oh, did you like it that much? Yeah. It's like, okay.
I really want to get an Ocean's 13 poster. This comes from frustration of working at a movie theater in the early 2000s where they're like, you can have all the posters you want. And I'm just like, no,
I don't
I'm
want
good.
any of these.
Yeah.
Mama.
Crap.
My grandma used to work at McDonald's back in the day, and when Hercules came out, they had like a paper, like the several-headed dragon. They had like one hanging up in McDonald's, and I got to take it home. So our basement had a giant like 7-head
Hydra.
cardboard Hydra for like 3 years of my life.
That's pretty amazing.
I do just want to add that like I love what you said about this being the male like Twilight.
Again, that's Cody said that.
Cody said that. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, that's so correct. And like I hate Twilight, but I read every single book several times, and I watched all of the movies. So it's gonna do well if that's
probably,
a correct parallel.
Oh,
it's gonna do great, and there's gonna be more. Just because, I mean, I don't consider myself as someone who would be into Twilight, but it's just that emotional porn, man.
I think I saw the fourth and last Twilight movie.
Ooh, I don't think I think I saw the first two.
I saw
and
the
that's it.
They're very
first,
bad.
and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're
I got kicked out of the
intensely bad.
theater for the first one because we were
It was that
laughing.
bad?
It was
Oh.
that bad.
The part where
It
he
was that
puts her
bad.
on his shoulders and runs up the hill like a Benny Hill
It's
sketch. That was amazing.
Amazing. Also, the father who's paralyzed from the waist down just pulling up in a truck with no explanation. It's like, I mean, I know that you can. There are devices where you can drive, but you're
But
not
that truck
using
is
them.
yeah.
My uncle needs like special equipment to drive a truck, and like, there's none in the car.
That's
What's
what
happening?
makes that movie kind of delightful. Is that it's one thing if it's just mediocre and like boring, but that movie is like fun bad.
It's
fun.
it's
bad.
bad in a
It's
fascinating
fun.
way.
Yeah.
It's like surely all the people involved in this project must have realized this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that CGI baby that
Oh my
comes
God.
later, and so like they must have saw that and been like, "This, it's not good, right, guys? None of this is good."
This is all bad.
But you know what? If they make out, maybe it'd be worth it.
Sure, yeah. Maybe they kiss.
Maybe they keep.
Maybe they take out the shirts and kiss.
Yeah. Maybe if we make the female character so bland, any girl will be able to place herself as the main character, and
Yeah.
then it'll
Blank
explode.
canvas.
Yeah.
That's the secret of Twilight.
I felt bad for Kristen Stewart for a while.
Well, I like that. I like that actress.
Yeah,
I
it's
still
just,
like. I think she's
like
great.
she got a
She's-
reputation for a while for being like bland and boring. I'm like, no,
Right.
that's the part.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a bad part.
But like, yeah,
Anyhow,
right.
okay.
All right.
So what do we have this past week? I
those
mean,
are trailers, right?
those are our trailers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's every trailer we had to talk about.
We have a little Black Panther news here.
Oh yeah, it's fifth biggest opening weekend of all time as of the recording of this podcast, and it's the second biggest 4-day weekend
Good.
ever. It's behind only Force Awakens.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very good.
fucking huge ass movie.
How's it doing internationally? Do we know?
I don't know. I didn't check. I think it. Hopefully, it'll be about the same.
Yeah.
It's funny because talking about that, I have a friend who works at Pixar, and I got coffee with him a couple weeks ago, and he was saying that like everyone at Pixar, no one believed in the Coco. Like everyone just thought it wasn't going to do great, and not because it wasn't a great film, not because like they weren't proud of it, but because they were afraid of how it would do internationally. They were like, oh, it's not going to get into China because they like don't care about Day of the Dead in Mexico.
Right.
So we're going to make zero money in the China market, and but because it's like a movie just about like respecting your elders and loving people who have passed, like China accepted it, and it's made so much money for Pixar internationally. And
Oh, cool.
they
And
were-
I can totally understand why they would think it wouldn't.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were just like, this is so specific. It's like
Yeah.
it's like so rooted in culture that
Yeah.
that like we don't know if like, or they just assumed no one was interested. But it's like these specific stories are what shows us that it's universal. Like
Yeah,
these things.
that's the old mentality is that, and a while ago they wouldn't even attempt to market certain genres internationally because it's stuff like drama and comedy and stuff like that usually don't do well across language barriers.
Right.
Just because of like there's cultural differences. The way you tell a joke in one language is not the same as the way it is in another language. But
Which for a while
Yeah.
made movies very boring.
yeah, and so
When
that's
they were
why they
starting
only
to-
for a while they only pushed like the big special effects spectacle films,
Right,
like
right.
Transformers, these stuff that you don't necessarily. It's like, it's
Yeah.
the
I think-
effects and everything.
I think that I haven't seen the last Transformers. The one before that, I feel like was the low moment where hopefully like that was like the moment, the dark third act where like they knew they had to change after that because that was the most pandering, messy
It's
international
full of commercials.
film. Yeah, it's
It's
full
a
of
Bud Light
commercials.
commercial,
It's-
and then it has a Stanley Tucci drinking a popular beverage in China.
Yeah,
Like,
well, they
it's like
literally halfway
Wow.
through are basically
Yeah.
like, oh, let's go to China. And then it's clear that they're pandering to China the whole time. There's a part where Mark Wahlberg playing a artist or inventor in Texas, while he's in Texas, goes to an ATM to get money, and his credit card is a Chinese bank because they were clearly got product placement. And it's just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
He would-
That a mechanic in Texas
Yeah.
would have a Chinese bank account.
Sure,
Yeah, but Black Panther's 184 million world foreign.
that's great.
So it's almost an even split
Yeah.
for how well it's doing.
But I think if we do more films like this, or like Coco, where it's just one, like where they don't care how it's going to do internationally.
Yeah.
Where, like it's like we're going to make the movie we make, and maybe they'll do good internationally. But the whole point is to make a movie
that is so good it will cross whatever barriers
Yeah.
we think are in the way, which
Yeah.
it happens.
Thor 3 is a good one where like the humor in that is very specific and might not translate. But they don't care because they just wanted to make a movie that was good. And I think we'll see more of this because China is now they've begun.
Yeah,
their
they're like,
own-
we're gonna do this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like,
Like
we
that movie,
won't-
the Great Wall was like
Yeah,
a
and
Chinese production.
it makes sense. It'd be better if we're trying not to make like global movies. Like its cultures they deserve their own entertainment.
Yeah, like for instance,
And it's fun discovering each culture's entertainment as
right,
well.
and like kind of what's like the stuff that doesn't sync up really with your own. You're like, oh, that's like when we were watching the Rampage trailer earlier. That's what I assume is a common way to promote an action movie over there.
Like,
And
it'll do great overseas because
Yeah.
it's giant monsters fighting each other.
and, it seems like so unusual to a stupid American like me. But yeah, like last year, like Black Panther broke the President's Day record as well, which was set 2 years ago by Deadpool. And that was another movie that was like interesting to see how it performed because it's this weird, mostly comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it performed well overseas, and that was fought against the traditional thought pattern in
Well-
Hollywood that like a comedy can't be a global film.
That was
Right.
the part of it is I had written an article a while ago for Cracked about this. The other part of this is that audiences in China, they aren't dumb. Like when Transformers came out, there were reporters who were watching and they would like burst into laughter when this stuff happened. Like when Iron Man, I think 3 cut like special scenes for China, they did audience interviews after and they were like, yeah, that was dumb. Like in China, they're like, yeah, they shoehorned in
That's
scenes
Yeah,
for
like,
us.
Yeah.
There's this like
they're not
mentality. It's like,
idiots. They're
oh, they're
like-
not going to notice.
Yeah.
'cause-
Yeah.
No.
Like
Why is
just,
The Rock talking to us like he's never
yeah, exactly.
met
Like,
anyone?
Yeah. Why is he speaking to us like Japan is on the moon?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like
What?
just make movies. They'll like them.
it's a good movie. People will like it. I don't know.
like-
We didn't-
We've never had this problem. Like
yeah, I don't know. It's funny, and
I get little things like the Pixar movies will change. I know Inside Out. They like when the part where the little girl has broccoli, and she hates it. They changed that for like China and Japan to a food that culturally was
Yeah.
seen as because broccoli is great there. So I get the little changes like that. That
Man,
makes
we
sense.
suck.
Yeah.
Like they like broccoli. We
Broccoli.
hate it.
I mean, I love
Yeah,
broccoli.
I
Yeah.
love broccoli, but
I didn't like broccoli when I
it's
was a
such
kid,
a stigma.
Yeah. It's
and it can kind of smell like farts.
it can
It
kind of
especially when you open it.
When you
if
first
you get
open
in
it.
a package, woo!
you get all
No,
That first
thank
5 minutes, you gotta let that air out.
yeah.
Like, oh no.
Woof.
what?
Get through some stuff. You want to get to the Kitty Pryde movie, I guess.
Yeah. I mean that
Yeah.
was I just added in here is that there's going to be a solo Kitty Pryde film. I guess it's the guy behind Deadpool. He like pushed for it. I think after the goodwill of Deadpool, he's like, and you know what, another thing, and he's gonna.
Right, but he's not doing Deadpool 2.
No, he's not. But I like that. I like that he's sort of moved on, and I think he might be making this. I like what they're doing with X-Men. I like all the X-Men's. I find them very entertaining films. When, especially like the earlier stuff, and I like the look. I like all that, but I do like that they're sort of getting weird I didn't like Logan, but I liked the. It was a good try for me. It was like I don't know. I'm curious to see what New Mutants is going to be and what this Kitty Pryde
you got out there.
You gave it a shot.
You gave it your best. You swung away.
But they're the only people. They're doing, I think, what DC was trying to do. Or something, because they're the only series, unlike Marvel, they do the opposite where they've started with them as a team. Because I guess that makes sense, because they're the X-Men.
Right, it would be hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to start with, like, just a Wolverine movie.
No, you start with...
And now they're kind of going on each individual thing on their own. And New Mutants, it's going to be a PG-13, but they're saying that they're going to push as much as possible on that PG-13, which I sort of get because they want to make a horror movie, and you can make a horror movie without it being R. But they delayed that one to add more horror shit, so that's kind of neat.
I'm just kind of fascinated to see what an X-Men horror movie is going to be.
Yeah.
I assume it'll be a lot of body horror.
Yeah, it fits. I'm always going to have a soft spot for X-Men. I hope they get Ellen Page.
I was going to ask.
I really don't think I want it without. I mean, I really like Kitty Pryde, but like, I love Ellen Page.
Well,
so
I don't know why they wouldn't, except unless she doesn't want to.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll. I hope they will ask her. At least.
You never know. Samantha Bee wasn't asked to audition for The Daily Show, and you'd think.
That's pretty messed up.
All kidding aside, I expect they'll want her involved, and she's dope. Love Ellen Page.
Ellen Page.
It would be. They have to ask her, right? Because she's not a nobody. Like she was Kitty Pryde when she was still starting out,
right? Nobody,
and now that it's like Jennifer Lawrence, where like you can tell in the newer ones, like Mystique suddenly doesn't wear the Mystique outfit anymore,
ever,
because it's clear Jennifer Lawrence was just like, I'm not wearing that shit anymore.
And they're like, okay,
sure,
yeah, that's great. Please don't. Okay.
Well,
it could be have her, and it could also be studio execs being like, well, we're paying all this money for this Academy Award-winning actress. We want people to see her face.
Maybe it was win-win because I know.
I don't think they care about that. That's giving them a lot of credit.
I think, that's the thing is they'd also probably are fine with having a weird blue naked alien.
That's true. That's true.
Like, and that.
I just remember
gets those weird nerds in.
I remember reading about notes like that before. Like we briefly met one of Ridley Scott's production assistants, and he said that the reason everybody takes their space helmets off in Prometheus is because the studio was like, well, we want to see their faces.
Makes sense, yeah.
And he's like, but they're in space. It's like, no, let's see their faces.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a lot of stories. There was also a lot of stories with Jennifer Lawrence in wearing that outfit.
I'm sure it's a nightmare. Yeah.
She would like pee on herself every time she'd peed,
and
like stuff like that. So she just by the end started just like smelling like urine.
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
She was like Tobias in Arrested Development. Like blue would be on everything.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
As soon as she gets that Academy Award, she's like, you know what? I'm not putting this shit on anymore.
You know what?
You can CG this shit on me.
Should we talk about Mute? I'm just excited for Mute.
Yeah, it's Duncan Jones' pseudo sequel to Moon. Did you see Moon, Maggie?
I've never seen it, but I know about it just from being alive.
It's like real good.
Yeah.
Duncan Jones, a.k.a. Zoe Bowie.
Zoe Bowie, yeah.
And so pseudo sequel. So
it takes place in the same universe, and Sam Rockwell shows up in this movie as his character from Moon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I love Sam Rockwell.
He's great.
I'm just, oh man, this has just
so
become
good.
me talking about Ellen Page and Sam Rockwell, but they're fucking great.
Every time I see a movie that Sam Rockwell is in, me and a buddy of mine back east are like, is he going to dance in this movie?
Yeah.
Because he almost always does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one I saw was 3 Billboards. He dances.
Yeah.
He works it in.
He finds a way to have a
to
little
work
bit
it
of fun in every movie.
Great.
He dances in Moon.
He dances in Moon. I almost got through Cowboys and Aliens. It's like, I don't think Sam Rockwell's going to dance.
Oh, no.
And then the last scene in Cowboys and Aliens happens, and he's definitely dancing.
Excellent.
Whoa.
I'm like, yeah, he does.
Well, that's good. I don't know if there's much more to say about Mute. That's cool that Sam Rockwell's going to be in it.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to probably do what we just watched about it.
We'll probably do that, and maybe Annihilation.
I want to do both. Annihilation, I'm very curious about because of the stuff.
And it's
the
directed by
reasons.
Alex Garland. Is that right?
Yes,
the Ex Machina.
Yeah, director of Ex Machina, and I love Ex Machina. And Tom hasn't seen
I still
Ex
haven't
Machina,
seen Ex Machina,
which means we might have to do that in the next few days.
Sure, I'll watch that. I think it's free.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
I think
too.
I have it. I have it on Blu-ray.
Oh, word.
I just pulled up an article about Mute, and the director said he is dedicating it to David Bowie.
Nice. It's his father.
His dad.
Yeah, so
He had a bad year. The when Warcraft came out, and
And
people
then
dumped on that, and then his dad
His dad
died.
died.
I mean, he was having a tough year.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bowie.
I did not dislike Warcraft.
I didn't either. He's a good director.
I
He's a
don't
good
know
director.
anything about Warcraft.
Yeah.
And I watched the movie and I was like, this is fine.
I liked, what was it, Source Code? Is that what's called? The train one?
The one with Jake Gyllenhaal. I didn't see that
Gyllenhaal.
one either, but
That's-
I heard it was like a surprisingly decent movie.
It's decent. It's hard going from Moon to that because it's not Moon. It's not as good as Moon.
yeah.
But it's a fine movie. I really enjoyed it. He's a good director.
Oh.
There's a Murphy Brown reboot coming.
Yeah.
That's really all I want to say.
That,
I'm very excited for Murphy Brown to come back.
I watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
My first thought was like, oh, Christ. Whenever all these
Oh, Christ.
90s sitcom reboots happen. But again, like, I like the X-Files reboot.
Ooh,
And
I can't look at Dave Duchovny like that.
he does
Can't
look.
do it. He
does
looks
look
like he's a
little
melting
tired. Yeah.
He's
candle.
old.
Yeah.
He's old.
Gillian Anderson still looks good, though. She's
She looks great.
Shit.
looks great.
Well, she you have to bear in mind she was considerably younger than him when they started X Files.
That's
She
true.
was like early
Oh,
20s
yeah,
when
you're
X Files
right.
started. Yeah.
But Murphy Brown, when I clicked on the link on this about it, first of all, NBC News is NBC doing? Are they the company that's
Maybe.
Owns
I
it.
don't, it's just
okay?
where I
Because
found
this
the
felt like
article.
they were really pitching it, like this article.
I can't remember where it was, but
Okay,
yeah.
because that's the thing. Is at first I was like, okay, and then I clicked on it, and by the end of this article, I was like, you're right, NBC. This is a good idea because they're talking about the era of Trump and fake news and stuff like that, where it is kind of the right time.
Well,
right?
and this show, when it came out, got a lot of crap for having Murphy Brown be an unwed mother. Like she
Right.
has a baby, and that was like a big deal at the time because we fucking suck.
Fucking do, man.
We fucking suck ass.
Fucking suck.
But I loved that show, and I was like, I'm just happy to see Murphy Brown again.
Yeah.
Because Candace Bergen doesn't. I've seen her show pop up here and there, but she hasn't really
Right.
had like a her own project type thing in a while. At least not. I mean, I could be missing something very important. But yeah,
yeah, fuck it.
fuck it. Fucking Murphy Brown.
Hey,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, it's fuck do it.
Whatever at this point. Just, yeah, sure.
Sure, whatever. We'll take it. Yeah.
So we're running out of time.
Let's get to movies that deserve more hype.
I would like to get to movies that deserve
movies that
more
deserve
hype.
more hype.
Just to wrap us up with this, the our only segment. This is our only segment.
We have 3.
We have three-ish.
Come on,
we
you
have.
guys.
we
You're
have
so hard on yourselves.
well, okay, guys. This
You son of
I
a bitch.
just ran into this movie, and it's not. Unfortunately, it's not out for a while, and I'd like to avoid doing that in the future. But I'm very excited about this. It's coming out in 2019. It's called Abruptio. It involves Jordan Peele. It involves Sid Haig. What's his name?
Robert Englund.
Yeah, Robert Englund. Christopher McDonald, for all you Happy Gilmore fans. James Marsters, who I haven't heard, but it says he's from Buffy.
I think
so
he played Spike on Buffy.
Sure.
Oh. Weird.
And it is a horror movie. I'll get to the there's one really fun detail about it, but I'll just tell you the premise. And the premise bored me. It's about a guy down on his luck who wakes up to find an explosive device on his neck. And he has to carry out like horrible acts and crimes to stay alive while trying to find the guy who did this to him. That sounds like a surprisingly there's a lot of movies kind of similar to that. Explosive device you have to kill.
Yeah.
What I'm excited about is the entire movie is performed by puppets. Like Team America or like The Dark Crystal, like it's like latex,
But they're
sort of
life-sized, it
life-size, like photo real, like latex puppets.
Wow.
So all these people that we talked about are just coming in to do voices. No idea why they're doing this.
Well, because the guy's a puppet.
Everyone's a puppet.
Oh, right. He's a
Is
puppet.
It
Okay.
makes like thematic sense.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true. That's very
that's
true.
like a decision that
Yeah,
they made.
like,
That's an
huh.
artistic decision.
Right.
And yeah, everything else about the poster looks like it's like something you'd skip by on Netflix.
Yeah, yeah.
And the director, I don't think he's done anything.
Evan Marlowe.
Evan Marlowe. But they have a web page too that you can go to and see their progress, and they have a Facebook page, and the pictures look already interesting. It looks like they're still shooting, they're still in production, I believe, but it looks like a fucking weird ass film,
Wow.
and it has the potential of being a lot of fun, like some puppet gore.
Puppet gore.
Yeah,
He's directed a ton of shorts,
that sounds about right.
and I think maybe 2 features. It's all horror.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, that's a person I can sort of trust with something weird like this.
sure.
Yeah. Also, now I'm just like, whenever anyone has a strong artistic choice, I respect it so much more because there's so
Yeah.
many movies without any that it's just like, oh, damn.
And
okay.
and the fact
Yeah.
You got to do something weird.
and the fact that
How?
Jordan Peele has signed on to do this now, like
Yeah.
he just joined this movie,
Right.
seems like there might be something to this movie.
Yeah.
Like
At this
Either the
point,
script was great, that
right,
counted
because
interest, or
because Jordan Peele's at a point in his career right now that he can do anything he wants.
right.
I assume.
yeah, and someone came to him and was like, record your voice for this puppet thing. It might be just a cameo. It could be
Sure, but the fact that he looked at this movie and was like, with all
I
the
want in on this, yeah.
with all the offers he must have at this point,
Yeah,
he's like, no, I'll do this
He-
weird ass puppet movie.
I hope they showed him like footage, and the footage was really good. You
yeah,
know, like
I mean, just the idea is like Maggie said, anytime
Mm-hmm.
you hear about somebody that's just making like a real artistic decision like this, you're like, yeah, man,
Yeah.
fuck.
Shit, fuck
Sure.
yeah.
yeah.
We'll stand up and clap for you. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I imagine what they're learning now, because if you ever go back and watch the making of Team America, the way they worded that, where they're like, yeah, let's do puppets, it's hilarious. And then like cut to a year
Yeah.
later where they're like, this is the worst decision we ever made.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah, so
puppets and fucking life-size puppets too.
yeah,
Jeez.
that's a nightmare.
But yeah, I'll definitely be
Everybody should
what's
keep
it called?
track of this one.
Abruptio.
Abruptio.
Neat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Maggie, for coming by and talking about
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
bunch
you.
of cool things.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll have you back on as often as you want to come on.
Yeah,
please.
fun, guys.
Anything you want to plug? Where can we find you online? All that stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Maggie May Fish. Yeah, I got some cool stuff coming out with DreamWorks and stuff. So yeah, another
That's
like
a
fun videos
Humble
and stuff.
brag.
Yeah, that's a real casual
Yeah,
DreamWorks drop there.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna show now. It is geared towards kids, but I wrote it, so I hope
That's
it's
awesome.
funny.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, yeah, thanks. And
Thanks,
yeah,
everybody.
we don't know how to stop this, so goodbye.
Bye! Just do it really abruptly and kind of aggressively.
Our artwork is produced by Justin Brown. You can follow him on Twitter at Justin T. Brown and find more of his artwork at artnessbyjustinbrown.com and justinbrown.info. Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.